Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the market, it pulled back. I think we might be in a tariff war, or maybe some new data came out. It's hard to say. One of them came out. Whichever one you believe, yes, you are right. That's exactly why the stock market sold off. The real answer, the undefeatable. Anyway, you can't argue with it. More sellers than buyers. That's really what happened. Now we know that because it shows up with red candles. That's how you make it. Now, how do you make more sellers? That's the argument, right? As long as everyone believes something, that's what happens. We're going to break it all down. We're going to break quite a bit down. Dollar still pushing up. This is more like it. The dollar pushing up, the market going down. We're still in a weekly zone. This purple is a weekly zone. So as far as the dollar goes, quite a bit still. I mean, that's dead cat bounce. Could be a higher low. I'm on the weekly time frame. So looking at this, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be really awkward if we get above that. But if we chew off too much more time, that's going to look like a bear flag. It's going to get weak and come down. Kind of where I'm at right now. Now, I'm not in a US dollar Japanese yen play. However, I am in a US dollar CAD short play. So it would be nice if it did something. Now, I am short. I'm short in this zone. I need it to go. Need to go down a lot more. A lot more than what the dollar's doing right now. Some people are going to draw out lines. They're going to call it a wedge. That's cool. I absolutely hate this pattern. I hate it the most. If you've been here before, you've heard me say it. You know somebody that trades these wedge patterns? Man, they got an excuse. They're almost as bad as the Elliott wave people. Elliott has a lot of cousins and friends that'll tell you wrong. It's AB equals CD. First of all, I never got that terminology. But man, they're like, oh, no, it's making the C, but on like a different time frame. You should have seen that one. You should have seen that one coming. It doesn't matter what time frame you're talking about. It's always like the other one, you know? Anyway, these wedges, in theory, that downward wedge should break to the upside. Not good for me. But if it's anything like all these other wedge people, as long as it breaks, they called it. It played out. You should have listened to them. Everybody knows best. Anyway, sarcasticness aside, I'm short this. Send it. Again, short the zone. Don't want it breaking above. And in fact, I chose this green wick right here. Kind of encapsulated all that. Looking at this, I probably should have gone a little bit higher over here. Anyway, that's the play. Looking at the coin of bit. Shout out to Zit Trader, Charlie, you watching? Let me know if you are. Shoot me a text, by the way. We got a lot to worry about with Bitcoin. It's above this zone. That's cool and all. I said we're probably not going to get a bull run until we get past this 93,000 mark. And look what's happening. It's another line. We're holding above this zone, and that's cool. That's at least some part bullish, but all it's done is go sideways. And how many times like that trend line's going to catch up? And let me draw something out, because a lot of people do trade these. They'll see like a parallel channel. They'll see this. Let's make it a little bit more aggressive just for the sake of learning. All right, so obviously we're back in 2021. We're in send it mode, and the stock will go from here to here. Now, people will actually short that because it's at the top of the channel, right? And then it just does this sideways, and they're still short because nothing stopped out, assuming they had any kind of risk management anyway. Sideways enough, and then all of a sudden this trend. Now, we would have this channel not from one point, from multiple points of contact, so that trend all of a sudden catches up, and then we kind of send it again. That's exactly what Bitcoin's going to do, but more like that. That could be what's about to happen. Anyway, looking at just looking at that, you know, a lot of things are happening when that takes place. Indicators are cooling off. If we were oversold, like imagine the RSI got oversold all the way down here. Everything's oversold. As this thing goes sideways, all of a sudden we're not so oversold. The EMAs are catching up. The SMAs, the MACDs, everything is going through its phases, cooling down, catching up, and then it's all right for we should be doing this, and you kind of just get that whole move down. So while I don't actually take trades off trend lines like that, I have to assume somebody's probably watching. What I care most about is who are my buyers and sellers, right? You hate Elon, so you're a seller of Tesla. That's cool. I don't care why. I don't care what you're doing. Are you actively selling Tesla? You're in the seller group. Or are you buying it because he can do no wrong? You're in the buying group. Now, that comes in forms of news catalysts, the cult following. There's the patterns. Remember that red and blue ball you had when you were a kid, and like the yellow shapes? You remembered that. So you found a shape on here, and now you're like, I know this. And anyway, you put the circle in the square, and the stock does a thing. But if that's why, I'm going to put you in the buyer or the selling category. Really, that's all I care about, which is why, like, I will talk, I don't use indicators or anything like that, but the RSI, very popular one, can create its own group. The MACD, very popular. So you hear me mention these indicators. I don't actually use them. Most of you guys who've been watching for any amount of time know that. But anyway, long story short, it's kind of what I'm watching out right now is like this trend line. Now, let's say we stay sideways. We cross right along. I would actually put that in the bullish category because we had that downtrend and the sellers weren't paying attention or they don't care enough about it. You know, maybe 4 people had that trend line. 4 people is not enough to move Bitcoin. So we'll know. Now, honestly, we'll still worry about the price action in these 2 zones. And I'm still not bullish till it gets above 93. Anyone scalping in there, plenty. If that's enough meat on the bones for you, you do you. But for what I'm watching, breaking that, I'd say, all right, we should have been selling off right now. But the bears just, they didn't have it in them. It's not to say they just didn't get the memo and they will the next day. But anyway. Look at the S&P. Look at that thing go. How awkward is this? If you're in the chat, you know how awkward it is. I even said earlier this morning, if we don't get above this high, not looking good. And then I said, I really don't want it. I want to go short. So I didn't go short this. Not here, at least. Wanted to go short at one of these zones. It's like, please, I don't care about the morning open. You know, let's do something cool. It did sell off. I did actually catch the knife one time. I even told chat, I'm catching the knife one time. I wasn't too thrilled about it. But, you know, so normally I do like an ES contract, a full S&P contract. But this time I ended up doing a micro. So I ended up doing 5 micros instead of one mini contract. It ended up being an L. We just kept trending down. Right now, here's where the futures close. They take a nap every day. They get tired. They do. And then we dropped it on down to here. As we open back up, we're kind of back up. Someone's going to talk about a gap fill. It's not that significant for me. We'll have that filled done and probably a move made before we open up to tomorrow. But first and foremost, if you think this is the higher low and you're in the bullish camp, you want to see us above this zone tomorrow. You want to. Otherwise, it ends up looking like a bull trap. You get everybody excited. All it was a relief rally. And remember this one lesson. This is free, guys. You don't have to join the group to understand it. You cannot build a bear flag without a green candle. And they gave us some. So, that being said, that's kind of what that's looking like to me right now, is that bear flag. Breaking this zone down here, yeah, that's what's going on. Now, outside of the, you know, the golf club you're looking at or whatever, getting down here, it's not good that it gave it all the way back, but it is good that it didn't make a new low. So getting into that zone, okay, there's still some argument there. We could, in theory, we could just go sideways. We could ride out months sideways in between these 2 zones. We've seen the S&P do that. Typically there's a zone there. We're just bouncing back and forth between zones. We'll call them volatility boxes because we are coiling a spring. For you mechanics out there, you know what I'm talking about. Those little spring compressors that you use your impact on. Oh, you've seen those videos where they just crank it and then one just snaps, or you just know one's about to snap and someone's gonna die. Anyway, that's what the S&P is gonna end up. Not saying it will, but could do that in between these zones and just go sideways forever. Breaking that, I don't know how you would not be on the bearish trade. Looking at the expected moves that we draw out every live stream on Sunday. This is what we expect. Now, we did get a tiny bit above, a little itty bit. Anyway, we pulled it back. Pulled it on back, and I can tell you guys all the same thing about the NASDAQ, except it didn't make it to that zone. This close. And why was I focused on ES? We were so close. Today, I felt like babysitting ES, the S&P. This one, I probably could have gotten on board going short this. You know, hindsight, obviously awesome. Honestly, had I been babysitting this, and I should have, this is just my fault right here. When I see that, the way we sold off, the momentum's to the downside, we have the indecisive hourly candle. That's where your buyer showed up, and it didn't matter. You could have gone short or long. Your stop would have been below here. Typically with that kind of momentum, you would want to go short. It would have been a great trade, and I'd likely still be in it. So, that sucks. That being said, I am bearish, but I did take a bullish play today, and I will get to that. But when I said Qs and the S&P are the same, just hand in hand, skipping down the sidewalk like Jack and Jill. Except they already went up the hill. I don't know who died. Maybe it was the tariffs, or maybe the tariffs are what's bringing them back. But anyway, they're rolling down the hill now. Jack and Jill, they must have tripped, and well, they're falling down. Now, looking at the Grandpa Dow, we did jump up. We did hit that zone, and we sold right off. So that would have been a clean play right there. You could have just, as the gap up, if you believed in that, could have taken that just zone to zone, and probably zone to zone again if you were playing that. I personally wasn't. I don't know why it would turn around here. I really don't. Maybe there would be some buyers down here. If you're a scalper or maybe you don't want to go heavy, I'd look to go long here if you're in the knife catching business. There might be an opportunity to go long here. How do I say it? Not everything's on the table, right? Anything can happen. But buying opportunity for a bounce, lower high, pretty likely. It would not. I can't say likely. It would not surprise me in the least if we bounced out of this zone one more time, didn't quite make it, and then broke through. Now, if we do it with any momentum, we will hit that. There will be like an indecisive candle, and then we'll melt through. There'll be 4 buyers right there, enough to make a wick or something. And then we'll melt through, which if you want to, I don't want to say wait, you can front run the risk right now and go short. And put your stop right above there. You'll just play the current trend. By the time it gets to this zone, your stop is just in the green. You're going to kick your feet up on the desk and wait. And hope that we hit that indecisive candle and then melt down. For those that want to wait for the trade to kind of already be in their direction, you would probably wait for this to break and then go short. That's not my cup of tea. Some people really like it. They feel safer doing it. I think there's a time and place. I'll take a trade like that probably 3 times out of the year. I like to front run the thing, so by the time we get to that position, my stop is already in the green. I'm saying, hey, you make your move. Anyway, talk about the bullish play that I took today. It was Tesla. So we sold off. Oh, Tesla hit that. Why did it jump up after hours? We didn't announce anything, did we? What's with the volatility all of a sudden? That looks like something. Because why would it do this? The dividend stock yield should you buy it now? Trump places tariffs on all autos not made in the U.S. Trump places 25% tariffs. Okay, so that's fine. Analysts cut Tesla's price target from 440 to 370. Good. We don't like those guys anyway. I don't know. Usually when you see a move like this after hours, something got announced or there was some kind of, maybe even a tweet. Who knows? But what I found out today, I haven't personally fact-checked this, but Tesla's inventory is sold out in a number of states. And I thought with an economy like we have right now, like things are weird. It was very weird news to hear. So if that's true, I think we could be setting up for a surprise on deliveries next week. I want to say it's around next week, but I sold the August 4th 250 put. If you've been following me for the last couple weeks, then you know I sold the 220 puts right here at these zones. I sold one I'm selling 2 each week, right? So one contract was $8, so $800, $1,600 total. And then next week, so it was 100% play. Next week was $5.60. 2 of those, 100% play. That's how much money I've collected without even having to buy Tesla. And I really wanted to just keep selling Tesla puts because I really don't mind buying it at 220, especially with my average cost already being below. And if I did it again, I'd quickly be sub 200 just on that price. So I was fine with that, but they weren't really paying much. And then I heard that news. And that really did change my opinion to crap. So I'll sell the 250. Now, I sold these puts. I did sell 2 of them. And, I collected another, $5, $6. I'll have to look at the price. Anyway, sold a couple of those. And I will take the share. So if anybody that's going to agree and take that play, there's no question of, hey, what do we do? It's at 240 now. Like, the answer is, you're going to own Tesla. That's what I plan on doing. I went ahead and did that and moved the strike up because if it does stay up here, I just get another week of free internet money. You know, another $1,000. Not bad. Another $5 off my cost, so it'd be $8, $5.60 plus $5. Take that all off the cost of when I actually buy the shares, and that'll be my average cost. Now, for those of you guys that are new, I do own a lot of Tesla, right? I actually really like Tesla. I don't care what your opinion is on Elon. I'll crack jokes at Tim Walz, but really, Tim Walz isn't moving the stock market. I don't care. But I had actually sold 30% of my position up here, went short along the way, and I'm going to get that 30% back. I'm going to be at that same amount money-wise, just a lot more shares. So that's why I don't mind accumulating it now. Ultimately, if we don't surprise on deliveries, I do expect Tesla to probably take another crack at the lows right here. So if I was in some long-dated puts, you know, I know there's a few that are in some August puts. I wouldn't buy an August expiration to be worried about a week or two. You know, that's a reason why I gave it that time. So, anyway, that's kind of my overall plan on that. I know this one's getting really drug out, but I wanted to just answer that. Sold the puts, and I'm curious if deliveries are actually going to be a surprise. I don't think anybody's expecting much as far as deliveries go. But, actually, Tesla owners, where you at? There's a site, Tesla Quest, Tesla Q. Anyway, there's a website where people are trying to dox and put all Tesla owners' addresses, dealership addresses, everyone's addresses on this website so they can vandalize your car. The FBI already took the first one down, and now there's another one. And I guess they're all planning for this Saturday, the 29th, to everybody do something at once. They word it as in like spray painting or something like that. Park it in the garage and keep a 45 loaded. If they come knocking, spread a little bit of those freedom seeds. You know what I'm saying? Don't touch people's stuff. You want to go blow your own stuff up? That's fine. To everyone comparing it to like Kid Rock shooting like the Budweiser, Kid Rock probably bought that Budweiser. He didn't just go shoot his neighbor's pack of Budweiser. Don't mess with people's stuff. I would not be on YouTube. If you touched my car, especially on some reason like that, not going to end well. And I do like my stuff more than your life, to answer that next question. Anyway, the 29th, keep an eye out for that. And for everyone that is out there damaging Teslas, I'm going to blow your mind right now, okay? I really am. Now sit down, because big words, long sentences, big thoughts. Take this one in. You go burn someone's Tesla down, okay? Smoke that thing up. Their insurance is going to give them money, and what are they going to do? They're going to buy another Tesla. Yeah, piece of cake. Just fuel that right on up. So if you really hated the guy, you probably wouldn't promote a whole bunch of people buying brand new versions of it. Or you wouldn't risk your life. Anyway, enough ranting on that. I got a few more tickers to break down. With this 2% sell-off, we're going to go back to being boring the rest of the week. Dead cat bounce. This is the beginning of pandemonium. He's talking about the overall market, looking at the NASDAQ. Again, we reined it back in. We're smack dab in the middle. I don't know if the fireworks... We have more fireworks on Friday. I do know that. We have some letters, right? PCE? PCE. Yeah, so we'll have some fireworks on Friday morning. Pre-market. I would... honestly, right now, I'm expecting more of a sell-off. Well, I'm not actively, just short any NASDAQ contracts. I would expect a continuation. If we get any kind of bounce or sideways, I would take that as my window to get in. Ooh, NVIDIA. Right there at a zone. After hours, though. So we went ahead and finished her off. Got her right to that bottom zone, huh? Sold a put for this Friday. The 109s. Ooh. I actually think you're going to be outside of any ridiculous... I think the 109s would end up being fine. You get assigned, let's say we melt down, right? The news is not good. Intel's better. Whatever. It sells off. You'll be at the 109s. Your average cost is here, plus whatever you collected. So your average cost is probably somewhere in this vicinity. If we sell off and you get assigned, let's say we're at 105. Monday morning, you'll have no problem selling the 109, the 110. and possibly getting your shares called right back away, or at the very least, you can just keep selling there and just make some weekly income on it. Tesla sold a put next week for $245. Okay, so you collected a few bucks less than me. Well, you know my thoughts. I did $250, obviously because of the gap fill. Just kidding. I don't care about that, to be honest. That's not a meaningful enough gap for me to actually worry about. Especially with a ticker like, and not to get on the gap fill argument. This is a real. I make fun of gap fills on ETFs all the time, but I mean this is a stock. So to go from here, like from 249.21 to 255, Tesla could sneeze and cover that. So that's just like I said, it's not a meaningful enough gap for me to be like, oh, that's what happened. Like it could have just had a red day. Tesla can cover that ground in an hour. No real zone here. If there was going to be anything, I would say we put a speed bump zone right here. Your 245s are better than mine. The reason why I ended up going with the 250, a little bit higher delta, because I looked at them all. At first, I started off looking at the 220s. Let me see, but I'm not going to collect a $1.50. Put up that kind of capital and you get $300. Come on. For you non-options people, that was $1.50 times 2, which is 3 times 100 shares, which is how I got the 300. It just wasn't enough for me. And then with these delivery numbers possibly setting off a surprise, I started looking up the chain. And ultimately, I just got a little bit more for the 250. And the way I saw it was, if I get assigned at 250 or 245, we're in the same boat. You know, you can say whatever you want about where you're standing on the deck of that boat. But as far as share assignment, what are the odds it lands at like 247 and I get assigned and you don't? Those are thin margins, I think. Easily could happen, but to just call that out like that, sometimes that's why I'll go with the if the ticker moves. A lot of times I sell the 20 deltas, but if we got some movement and there is going from the 245 to the 250, there's a meaningful difference in premium, I'll do it. And vice versa, the other way around. Let's say I'm collecting $5 for the 250 and $4.60 for the 245s. That's a no-brainer. An extra $5 on the stock, and I collect almost the same all day. So those numbers I just kind of made up in my head. I don't know what the 245s are. But as I'm looking at selling any kind of premium, selling any kind of options for premium, that's when I'm weighing out. If I go a little bit higher, what kind of juice am I getting? What kind of squeeze do I need to put out to get that juice and kind of find that sweet spot? Because it is different every time. KHC. Come on, chill. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking. But she does not like Kraft Heinz, apparently. Who did this? Don Mafia. Wait, you're not the normal KHC guy. That was Terry. He talk you into this? Let's see. Defensive plays. You bought shares at $29.35. Hey, defensive. If we go to war, we still got to eat, right? Give me some macaroni and a ketchup packet. I gotta say, it doesn't look $29.35. Man, you're asking for it. And when I say you're asking for it is like, if I owned these, would I put my stop at $29.45 right now? And you're asking to tag out if you do so. If that were to gap up and move up tomorrow, I'm at least putting my stop at $29.45. And for everyone who says, oh, that's 10 cents a share, that's not very much. You're right. The idea isn't to sell there, it's to put your stop loss there. And if it continues up and keeps going, wait till it gets above that zone and then move it up. But right now, if you can take your risk off the table, why wouldn't you? The only downside is you're going to play that game, and a wick is going to drop down and tag you out. Your probability of touch is probably almost 100% if it doesn't gap up and push tomorrow. But I would do that, and as I tag out, that's not the end-all, be-all for me. That is my alert to, should I get back in this thing? You know, because if I tag out and I see a red candle that looks like this, I'm not getting back in. I find out it was just a wick and some little pitiful candle like that, I have no problem getting back in. I'm in a position to be able to do so. So if you're not and you can't really manage it like that, then ride this thing out until you can comfortably put it in there. Putting your stop in the green too soon, that is a little bit of, I don't want to call it an art. It does take experience because you can choke a trade out, a great trade, because you got nervous and didn't give it proper breathing room. You're right out of it. That also being said, you can take your time and watch it go from green and right back to red because you wanted to just sit on your hands. Nike added to the 65 call leaps. Okay, so you just really like this one, huh? Why? Kaepernick? Just kidding. I'm thinking about this because I've thought about Nike quite a bit. Again, when the Kaepernick thing came out, I just got bombarded, and it made me absolutely hate the stock. I haven't touched it since. Maybe one trade. But man, at these levels, I'm intrigued. I might even entertain the idea. You know, you're paying $65, you get 40 cents quarterly. A leap? If I were to do a leap right now, I think I'm going to go probably a couple weeks out, maybe even 30 days out, and sell some 20 Delta calls, poor man covered calls, you know, calendar spreads. And for now, for the time being, I would want to make some money on it. And I would run so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the risk. I'm going to make money, continue selling calls on the way down. And if it just absolutely sends it like this, luckily, hopefully I'm up high enough that I don't have to take an L, but I would rather buy that out because the leap is the core play. The selling stuff against it is the cherry on the top, the sprinkles, the frosting, just the extra stuff. You know, so I would keep the leap and I would just buy back that one to close. But if I'm entering that right now, I think that's what I'd have to be. GME, thoughts on their Bitcoin scam strategy? I mean, it worked well for that software company. Do you know what software company I'm talking about? You don't. But do you know what MicroStrategy is? It's a Bitcoin company. Just kidding. I don't know. I am a fan of Bitcoin. I do like that companies are buying it. If you can hear my dog crying, she's at the door. And I'll let her in as soon as this is done. The weather's perfect out here, by the way. I like it. I'm sure someone on Wall Street Bets is talking about the MOAS and how this thing's going to go to $1 bajillion, probably tomorrow. But if not tomorrow, easily the next day. But I mean, it gapped up and hung out. The stock that I like the most for that Bitcoin strategy is Mara. If there's someone that can pull it off, I mean, they are a Bitcoin company, not a company that has Bitcoin on their balance sheet. GameStop's cool and all, sure. But man, I don't. If they hopefully they stick around. I don't want them to go bankrupt. I'm not rooting for any company to go bankrupt. But I feel like they're straddling the line between the next blockbuster and we might hang on to a few more years. So I like that they're trying something. I don't know if it's an actionable play for me right now. I find out they loaded up on a bunch of Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin's about to rally. Maybe I'll entertain that, because what will happen is people will remember that. You'll have all the cat people, the kitty guy. I'm not trying to mess his name up. I just forget it. Red bandana. You know, they'll flood in. We saw what happened to MicroStrategy. So I think there might be a time and a place for GameStop later, but that needs Bitcoin hype to come in. Not even just Bitcoin going up, Bitcoin hype. At that point, we might rock and roll. TEM sold a covered call, 52 expiration. Oh, this week. Ballsy, huh? What's your average cost? You sold that today. Hey, you're there. You got some real money in there because options are real value plus time value. You suck that real value right out because we're at 52 right now. Not bad. That'll be a good play tomorrow. A good play because you'll be right at the money. I don't know how much theta is gonna kill you on that one. If that stays red tomorrow, that call contract might just evaporate. And at that point, if you don't want to lose your shares, I'd buy it back to close because this thing could bounce. I'm not saying it will, but right now you sold wherever we were at today. You sold. Let's grab the end of the day, 53. You at least got $1.50 for it. Tomorrow it's down. Buy that. I can't tell you what to do. Personally, if I was in your shoes, I'd buy it back because if we shoot up, one, I get to lock in that money and ride the shares back up and do it again next week. You know, it's like being in the casino but stopping that slot machine before it says, 7. It already says 7.7. You're like, before it gets to that third 7, you just stop it right there. Unless that's a typo or something, like I would do it. Unless you want to get rid of your shares. If you want to get rid of your shares, I'd let it play out. If you want to be out of your shares come this Friday, I would buy that thing back, and then I would just sell my shares. We'll be somewhere close, but if you want to get out the 52 mark, you could always just buy it back and flat out sell the shares if that's where you want to be at. Hood. All right, hit the expected move and that zone. This is awkward. I like it. I'm grabbing more. Personally, I'm going to sell some 42 puts for next week. I don't mind owning it. Typically, I would be at the 20 delta, which might be a little bit lower. I'm going to go ahead and sell the 42s next week. I want to buy the dip. And to be clear for everybody, I want to buy the dip. I'm going to start buying probably quite a bit. I don't think this is done. I think the market gets lower. But like I told you guys the other day, I start buying. Like if I think we're crashing and going to 20%, I start buying when the S&P's down 10%. That's when I start buying. I'm going to buy here and there. It's not a flash sale. I'm just, hey, if it's a dip buy in a zone, I like it. But I'm also married to it, which means I'm going to own those stickers. Default stop loss. That means 0, right? When that market maker says, you're out. They delisted. That's my stop loss. Because I will probably, as this goes down further, stocks probably will too, and that's when I'll buy a lot more, which is why, personally, that strategy for me is amazing, and you make the most money on crashes. It'll be a lot easier to just weight everything to the downside, because when the market does come back, a lot of the popular tickers I'm buying are just absolutely going to send it. Money comes back into those first. NVIDIA, I think NVIDIA I think you got time. NVIDIA went through a complete hype cycle, right? And now it's going sideways, which NVIDIA has done a lot. So you can buy the dip now. You can probably buy the dip later. The market goes down. We're at 10%. It made it this far. If it goes down another 10%, we might make it this far. Like, how much further are you actually going to go down? The real answer to that question, by the way, is $112.23. But how much do you think it's really going to go down? That's why I feel like there's just no rush on NVIDIA. Honestly, if you're going to sell calls against it and maybe turn it into like an income kind of play and not a trade, I'd just grab it now and start selling calls. Why not? As a trade, I would have to buy it, put my stop at probably 107.85. See if we don't bounce out of this zone. But before I even took that trade, I would look at the S&P and the NASDAQ. And if they're trending down, don't worry about the type 1 because this is probably going to get a little bit lower. But, if your stop's 107.85, take your risk, what's that, we'll call it $5 a share right here. You can, if you only want to risk $25, you can only buy 5 shares. Wait till it gets down here, and now all of a sudden you can buy 25 shares. So you can buy more, keep the same amount of risk, but as an income ticker, you can go ahead and, I don't say you can go ahead and do it now, but if you're already selling calls, you're already chipping away at that. So the couple bucks you're going to end up waiting for and hope you could have already made by just selling a call against it. I mean, you could buy it and get aggressive. Buy it at 112, sell the 114 call if you can afford 100 shares or however many hundreds, that's how many contracts. You'll collect the at-the-money premium, and you'll sell it and make a couple $100 on your shares. A couple bucks per share. So it ends up not being a bad trade, but at the same time, if it continues to sell off, you're hacking away at your income. Hacking away at your average cost, sorry. Tesla, it's doing the Tesla thing, the volatility. It'd be cool to see a higher low in this, but I do think Tesla is going to go lower overall. If you skipped to this part just for Tesla, because you watched the list, if you guys haven't caught on, I'm just doing the whole list tonight. Some people will skip to just their call out in my group. If you're interested in it, right, it's the top link in the comments. I did do my Tesla play in the beginning. With deliveries around the corner, I expect the volatility to just be hand in hand with Tesla right now. So it's going to go up, it's going to go down. It has nothing to do with Tim Walz or Cathie Wood Maybe they might tweet something. Probably doesn't matter if Kathy Wood's buying a bunch. You know, like it's gonna do with the cult following and who wants to be in or out before deliveries. But they are right around the corner. I do have to fact check it, but from what I heard, they are selling out of their inventory in multiple states, not 2 or 3, multiple. Which to me would kind of hint that we might get a surprise on the deliveries. I don't think it'd be too much of a surprise if they missed deliveries. I don't think that would be a surprise at all. They surprise if they say like, oh, we expected this much, but we did this much. In an economy like this, that's going to be unheard of, I think. So the real risk to me is deliveries come out and they're good, and we send it up. They come out and they're par, or they missed red, obviously, but the amount of red we'll see versus the amount of green, I think, is skewed very differently. To see the same amount of red, they'd have to come out and miss by an absolute metric ton, I'll put it that way. They would need to miss by a lot. I don't think it would be much to surprise to the upside. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll wrap it up here. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good one.